meeting with a colleague earlier today, and we were talking about onboarding and things for Future Moms for America, shameless plug. And so I genuinely have no idea how we ended up on this topic, but somehow or another it came around to uh, prison is slave labor, basically, and largely unproductive and does absolutely nothing towards, rehabilitation. And so we were talking about it, and I was like, you know what? I need to do a video. So I'm doing a video about how we need prison reform because we do. And it's just like the way that the prison systems are set up is that you go in and you spend however many years doing basically nothing productive, and you come out and you have no skills. You have, no job history. You have no, if you're lucky, you get an education, but most it becomes a cycle. You go in, you come out, you go in, you come out. It's What good is that doing? There's no change. There's no helping people, find a better life. So we were talking about some of the different things that could be done. She mentioned that David Ramsey went into a prison somewhere, and that he had a version of his show there, and that the prisoners were able to apply and compete and whatever. And I don't know what happened to them afterwards, if they were able to get released, where they were able to do, I don't know. I don't know what happened, but I think that's a brilliant idea, to call attention to the fact that, there are people in these situations that have skills, that have things that they can and want to do that they're not being able to do. And we were talking about, again, different things, having them have a garden, like raise their own food, raise their own animals. I honestly think that it would be kind of, even just for the novelty, that people would go to the store to buy tomatoes that were, planted and harvested and canned at a prison by prisoners. And then they got money from it, that it's not just, slave labor, but it's actual paid work that they're then able to put the money away into an account that once they're released, they can have access to. Or if they're doing life, then, they can give it to their kids or whatever. Just something that makes them feel like they're being genuinely productive and helpful and contributing members of society. There are programs where prisoners are able to get an education, either, graduate from high school or, do community college or something. But I don't think it's. I always seem to be talking about things that I don't know over much about. So I don't know what exactly those programs are, or, whether they're state funded, whether they are funded through an NGO. I don't know, but it feels like to me that there are a lot more options that could and should be available to help create actual reform, to help them raise themselves up out of this, cycle of prisonness where you start as a kid and you get thrown in, and it becomes like this rite of passage, right? That how many times have you been? How long was your sentence? What were you in for? It becomes a mark of pride almost. What good does that do in society overall? And I talked a bit about this in my video where I said that I was for capital punishment, because I am. And but it's just become this idea of just throw people in prison because you don't want to have to deal with it. You just say, give them X amount of years, and then I don't know. It's like when you put a kid in timeout. You know, little Johnny hit his sister, and so you're gonna stick him in timeout, and now you think about what you've done, mister. And he sits there and he stews for the 5 minutes that he's in timeout, and all he's really thinking about is, how can I get away with hitting my sister without having to sit here for hitting my sister? And it it's not productive. The prison system in America was not set up to be a catch-all. It was, maybe a bit idealistically, set up to be you know, a place where people could change for the better, have a better life when they came back out. But it's become so easy to just put a stamp on it and again throw them in behind bars for X amount of years and say, well, when they come out, they'll have learned their lesson and they'll be a changed person. I don't see how that is any less idealistic than this idea that the prison systems were initially set up to help better the people who went into prison, and where you had genuine consequences. And I don't know, I'm a little all over the place. It's just, it frustrates me. It really frustrates me that we have it we as a society have gotten to a point where we just don't want to think about the fact that, people break the law and then need to be punished for it. And we don't want to do our part, from jury duty to, you know, community involvement for helping these people figure out how to get their lives together. It's we just look at them like they're bad eggs, and it's like, oh well, if they knew, but if they had only done the right thing. But I mean, a lot of the people who are in prison don't necessarily know what the right thing is, or at least they didn't know what the right thing was when they were first introduced into the system. Or if they did know what the right thing was, maybe they felt that their circumstances made it so that it was impossible to do the right thing. And I'm not saying that that's an excuse. If you're starving and you steal food, you're still stealing. I'm not saying it's an excuse, but it is an explanation. In America, where we're trying to, you know, hide our dirty laundry in the closet because we don't want to have to deal with it, we have, gang violence and drug violence, and we have, a homeless problem. Like, we have a real homeless problem. We have children who are starving here in America, and everybody is so focused on, sending shoes to Africa because that, does so much good, because you don't want to think about the fact that those things are happening in America. And when you don't address the societal issues, then there's something wrong with the system. If the system is allowing this to happen, we need to change the system. And so people who get caught up in the system in one way or another, they're homeless, they're, in a gang ridden area, they're whatever the case, they get pulled into this broken system that lands them in prison, and it becomes a cycle. In a lot of ways, it's like a legacy. If a father has been to prison, odds are his son is going to go to prison, odds are his son is going to go to prison, etc., etc. And it's not always going to be that way. There are people who are very deliberate about breaking their cycle, but it's hard. It carries on, like, welfare, where you are born on welfare and you live on welfare and you die on welfare, so your kids are born on welfare and live on welfare and die on welfare, etc., etc. Or abuse, where you were abused, so you abuse your kid, so your kid abuses their kid. And like I said, people can break out of it, but it's really hard, and a lot of people don't know how. They don't know where to go for help. Instead of allowing this to perpetuate and continue this cycle over and over and over again, why not reform at least part of the system? If we can't do over much about homelessness, if we can't do over much about starving kids, which I honestly, why can't we? We're one of the wealthiest nations in the world. We have, like, some of the highest technology rates, and yeah, everybody who's, talking about socialism this and socialism that, I don't see them trying to really bridge these gaps on their own, or even, through an NGO. They're more than happy to let the government do it, but they're not willing to do it themselves. But that's another video. So, something that we can affect, and something that we know could have, like, something we could see immediate results from, is prison reform. Giving prisoners an opportunity to create something with their time, something with their talents, something with, whatever, that they can have, that they can earn money, that they can gain skills, that they can get an education. We have, these prisons that we've set up for kids where they have to go to 8 hours a day for like 18 years of, okay, not 18, but most of their young lives. Why can't we do the same for people who are actually in prison? I I don't understand it. Like, there's no reason why our prison systems should be the way that they are. Call me an idealistic dreamer, but I don't see, yeah, it'll cost money. Yeah, it'll cost time. But I don't see this being impossible. I don't. It just depends on how much we, as a community, as a culture, as a nation, really genuinely care about people who need help. And most of the people who are in prison are there because they needed help and they didn't get it. So if they didn't get it outside, we should make it possible for them to get it inside. Because otherwise, all they're doing is fighting and plotting and watching crappy daytime television. And I don't know about you, but I feel like my tax dollars could and should be much better spent. Hey guys, thanks for watching that video. If you enjoyed it, make sure you like, subscribe, and do all those things that you do when you enjoy a video. If you'd like to learn more about us at Moms for America or the Millennial Rant, you can visit our website at millennialrant.com or see us on our Instagram page at millennial_rant. I look forward to seeing you next week, and I hope that you have a wonderful day.